Hello, folks. Welcome to another week of Tarah Talks. It is a pleasure to have you with me. I'm here to talk about various and sundry nerd things with a good friend of mine, Jim Burrows, who is with me today to talk about how to write a good software ticket. There's a lot of principles that are involved with writing good bug and support tickets, and yet oddly lecturing away, as one does, to a set of students that I had a couple of weeks ago. When I told them to go look up how to write a good software ticket, they told me that there wasn't anything on Google, which shocked and surprised me, so I figured I would just create something myself. I invited a good friend of mine, Jim, who has actually previously been a boss of mine when he was the VP Engineering and then VP Advanced Development at Silent Circle, to talk about how to write really awesome tickets. I learned a great deal from him, and I'm just thrilled to have him here with me today. So we're going to chat today about how you write a good ticket, and it's part of being a good member of a software development team. So welcome, Jim, being here with me today, where we can hang out and have tea, and the cats will hopefully not crawl on my head while we're talking. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Who am I? I've been on the internet since I started hacking it in 1974 when it was the ARPANET, and I started hacking when there were dial-in lines to backbone routers and guest accounts on backbone routers, which tells you how long ago that was. I hacked for 2 or 3 years, and then I went and worked at Digital Equipment for 20 years. And I worked for a company that eventually became part of News Corp and TV Guide, but it started out as an independent company, Video Guide, for a while. And since I left Video Guide, I have been mostly doing contracting and consulting, with my one real steady thing since then having been the VP of Engineering and then the VP of Advanced Development at Silent Circle. Over those years, on LinkedIn it says I have 40 years experience doing things I never did before. I've been advanced development and pure research and applied research and development and maintenance and operations. I hate doing the same thing twice.
Don't we?
So right now I'm back to working for myself, and I'm kind of on a sabbatical while I teach myself about what I'm calling personified systems. I won't call them AI because I don't think they're very intelligent.
Personified what?
Personified systems. Things like Siri and Hello Google and Hello Barbie and Alexa.
There's not a Hello Barbie. Is there a Hello Barbie?
Yeah, and we don't want to talk about that on here. It has nothing to do with this, but you and I should talk about it sometimes. It's either really cool or really scary, depending on how you look at it.
All right, that sounds like a blast. Okay, yes, we'll talk about Hello Barbie off air because I probably have choice comments that little girls should not hear about. We're
Right.
keeping this whole thing PG-13 and better. So,
yeah. So I guess the thing that you said earlier is that there's lots of stuff written about how to write good bug reports. My problem is that, having worked for many companies using many bug reporting systems, I've seen few people who know how to write a good bug report, let alone a back-end using a bug tracking system or some other ticket tracking system, a back-end ticket for doing work, an engineering work order style ticket.
well, and I particularly remember a ticket I think I wrote once upon a time, which looked a little bit like build a server. I think was something around the title of the ticket that I had written. And I distinctly remember you pinging me over instant messaging going, what led you to think that that would be a good ticket? And then you and I got into this great conversation about what it takes to create a great ticket. So I know I've got certain principles that I'm teaching people now, but can you kind of encapsulate some of those principles in Twitter-sized nuggets for me?
Let me start with a bug ticket.
Okay.
A good bug ticket should tell you what the user was trying to accomplish, what they did, what the system did in response, what they expected it to do, why the last two are different, and why that's wrong. It turns out that every one of those is important, because there will be times when a user says, it should do this, and it did that, and I've looked at it and gone, those are the same thing. And there's some difference in them that the person reporting the bug sees that I don't. And they see a difference, and they see a problem, and I don't see it, and it's not in the bug. And that's why I have my six things of, what were you trying to accomplish? What did you do? What did the system do? What did you expect it to do? Why are those different? And why is that wrong? So,
all right, that's a great way to put it. All right. And that's for the support tickets, which is fair. And a lot of people, I think, understand that they want to describe that. But if you've pointed me to, I think it was a really great post once upon a time. Where did that original support ticket, how to write a bug ticket post come from? It was like a Usenet post from like '89 or something like that. If you know where that is.
No, I don't know where that is. That was, okay. You're right. I went and looked that up for that conversation.
Okay, well, when you find it, we'll tweet it out after we get done with this conversation now. Otherwise, basically the video gets to look at you and me busy Googling. Did you hear that great line? I don't remember what it was. I think it was from my friend Michelle told me that somebody had posted a headline. I think it was an Onion headline, which was computer programming officially to be renamed Googling Stack Overflow for things. So that's all we do anyway, but let's not do it on camera.
Right. I really mad at that. When I was a teenager, every weekend I would go into the Boston Public Library and hang out in the stacks. The librarians knew me well enough that they let me into the back so that they didn't have to bring out armloads of books every half hour. And
always good.
So I was really addicted to libraries, and then somebody gave me Google, and it was like,
well, fine, right?
Hey, if you are enjoying this drug, wait till you see that.
No. So. All right, so let me tell you what I learned. Let me tell you what I learned and what I've tried to teach the students that I've got now.
Yeah.
And then you can tell me why I'm wrong, because that's actually one of the more fun things that you and I get to do. So one of the things that I do is when I teach my students how to write a task ticket, a software development ticket, because this is how we develop and create software now. It's not like there's a water cooler anymore. Now you have to be very clear. So I tell my students to first approach this with the expectance, with the expectation that the entity to which you are writing this ticket has the intelligence of bovine fecal bacteria. You need to assume that they don't know anything about what you're talking about, or maybe more accurately, that someone is in a total, complete, isolated state from any piece of information you have ever had in your life. If you say, go get the images from the files, go get the images from the folder where they're stored, you better have a URL to that file location, because otherwise it's just going to come back to you. Which images are you talking about? So the principles that I give them are start with that mindset, and then tell me what the status quo is. Tell me what you want to see the outcome be, and then tell me what the definition of done is, or what the new status quo should be. And as an example, I say, so the current situation right now is that there's no search function on the main page of the website. That's the current situation. The task you want done is you want search implemented on the front page of the site. And you're leaving it alone in terms of the language and everything like that. You can always add comments later, but you need to be clear that what you want done is, I want to be able to search for things on the front page of the website in the search box. And 3, the definition of done is when a product item will come up after I type in its name in the search box, and that is the expected behavior, then the ticket is done. Then you can resolve it back to me. So it seems more simple, but that's, I think, because in software and support tickets, it gets to be, you can be more specific because you're fixing a problem as opposed to telling someone to be creative right now. So how does that principle work for you? I mean, I know you've developed tickets around that kind of thing too, but am I leaving anything out that would be helpful?
The doneness criteria is probably one of the most key items. In the last advanced development group I was working with, we started using our ticket system. It was Jira, really to control agile sprints. And what we really needed was to make sure that tickets got assigned to people if they were expected to get them done during this sprint. So we had a huge body of tickets that were not yet assigned to people. And we said, during this 2-week period, you're expected to get these 5 items done. Here are their priorities, so we know which ones. I mean, if you're only going to get 4 of the 5 done by the end of this sprint, which are the 4? And so, who's expected to do it? What are they expected to do? What's the priority? And the doneness criteria, that checkoff. How do we know that you've done the thing that's required? That's really key. And depending on what kind of task you have, I mean, if I've got the fellow who's writing sort of back-end code and I have the fellow who's writing user interface, the what needs to be done may be substantially different in approach. And therefore, what's key is, here are your checkboxes. If you can check off all of these, you're done. Because there's not going to be a formula for the guy who has to be creative that works for the guy who just has to get that API written. So the principle is to define clear checkbox style items. If I can check these items off honestly, I'm done.
If when I search for a banana on your produce site, an array of bananas pops up, then perfect. If you have to get more specific than that, you say things like, and they're ordered in most highly rated, drop down that lets you resort based on any other criteria that you specify, and here's some more criteria. You start getting a little bit crazy at that point, but one of the things I also like to do is I like to tell people that if you are creating a ticket that from the very beginning requires more than one person to complete it, you are not creating a ticket. You're creating a project.
Yes.
And whatever system you're in, if you have something where you say, create and upload a logo to the front page, you are almost sure right in that moment that you have created a project and not a ticket, because the person who creates graphic work and in a company is almost never the same person who's going to be running the uploads of those images to the front end of the site. So you've created a project, and it doesn't matter whether or not it's a big project or a little project. If you know without a shadow of a doubt that the person that ticket you're creating for software development needs to go to multiple people, you need to make a project, and there needs to be multiple tickets with task dependencies as opposed to one ticket you're supposed to pass around. And the reason why is those tickets die in hell, development hell. They die forever. No one ever touches them. Have you ever seen that happen? Like a ticket that just sits there for like 4 years. No one will touch it.
We ended up having tickets that were stories and tickets that were individual work items. And the individual work items really have to be something you can say, in this time frame, this one person should complete something that has these attributes, not complete these items. But so when I say the doneness criteria are checkboxes, it's not checkboxes of items, it's checkboxes of characteristics of the done thing, right? It's this big, it weighs this much, etc. Rather than deliver me one of these and it does one of those, and so.
Okay, it is problematic because one of the things that tell me like the worst horror story you've ever had for a ticket. And you can use me if you want to, because I've written you some tickets before that are truly stinkers. Like, what's the worst ticket I ever wrote for you?
It'll surprise you and anybody that I've ever yelled at, but I have no idea. I forget bad things after they've happened.
Okay, but give me an example of something you might have seen.
Well, the thing that goes wrong is that you have a team that supplies you all of the back end, all of the guts to your system, be it a phone system or a TV guide on screen kind of set of listings. There's the people who have to provide all of the back end stuff, and you assign to the guy who's responsible for this app, implement this feature. Sadly, that feature requires 2 or 3 different things for the back-end people to do, and the guy that's been assigned a ticket has no ability to do the thing you've asked him to do, because he can't do it with all those bits and pieces. And this is your point about you haven't created a ticket, you've created a project. If the back-end guy isn't already delivering you exactly the API that you need to implement that front-end piece of functionality, and you assign it to him, and then he goes, oh, I have to get these things. And if he doesn't go off and write a whole series of individual tickets for all of the things the back-end guys are expected to do, they never know how to prioritize it. And 3 months later, you're sitting there waiting for him to do his thing, but he's blocked on all these other people. And that's why it's so important not to make a ticket a project, right? You want work items, you know.
I think I might be losing you. Can you hear me now, Jim?
You just froze.
Jim, can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you now.
I think I actually lost your. It looked like it was clear too. Did you see yourself? Because I'm hearing part of the.
I'm hearing syllables. They don't all make words.
Okay. I'm gonna drop and pop back. Give me a second.
I heard that.
Here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
I screwed up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's better. All right, that was a little annoying. I lost your story there for a second. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you were talking about?
In all my projects for the last decade or more, there's always been somebody who's responsible for the back end, and then there's the application, where everything is built these days on frameworks and systems. So if you're building a phone app, there's somebody who's responsible for all the telephony and all of that, and then the actual app itself. If we're building TV listings that appear on your TV screen, there's all the back end stuff, and then there's the stuff that actually runs in the TV that has to depend on it. And every catastrophe that I can think of comes when we assign somebody at the front end, add this feature to your app. But that feature requires
Yes.
2 or 3 different things in the back end. And unless the front end guy is generating a whole collection of tickets for the other teams, I need this, I need this, I need this. 3 months later, you're still wondering when he's going to complete his ticket. And he's not going to complete his ticket because all of the dependencies don't have tickets. Because everything got into one ticket, a project became a ticket in the terms you were talking about earlier. And you've frozen. Either that or you really hate my story.
Google Hangouts hates me. It just hates me, and I don't know why. And I never figured out a better application. You see, we need to submit a feature. How would you submit a feature ticket to Google saying, Google Hangouts sucks, make it better? Except there's nothing better than Google Hangouts for this. We're actually pushing something like this out, but is that a feature or a bug ticket? That's actually interesting. Philosophy is make it so that when
I heard a small rant about Google Hangout, and then you froze again, but at least you look more like you're smiling this time. Ooh, you're moving.
can you hear me now?
I hear you now. So, did I come through it all on that one, or are we still in Hangout hell? We're still doing badly.